Hi, my name is Kevin Scrima, and I guess welcome to the Kevin Scrima Show. So, I'm putting out my first political video and podcast episode because I think it's very important to point out what's going on in the race for the 2020 US election currently. I'm putting this under what was supposed to be my self-help podcast, which I've kind of done nothing with for reasons I'll explain in a different episode, and I didn't want this to be under my gaming podcast because I really want to separate politics and gaming and not let that stuff mix. And I just can't focus on my gaming channel until I get all this out. I can't even play video games until I get all this out. Playing or winning in a video game match or even talking about video games feels so pointless compared to the severity of what's currently going on in American politics right now. So if you're curious what I have to say, listen on, but if you don't want to listen to politics and just want to wait for my next gaming video, that's up to you if you want to turn away from what's going on right now in America. This is pretty scary stuff. I mean, really scary stuff. I don't know where to exactly begin because I can begin in so many different places. We might as well start with the corruption of the Democratic establishment. I was proud to be a Democrat, but I'm not so sure now with what they are doing. They are all teaming up to try and block Bernie Sanders from being able to claim the Democratic nomination. After Biden won the South Carolina primary, one state, with Bernie coming in second, all of a sudden, before Super Tuesday, they think they can win, they make some phone calls, some backroom deals, bunch of promises for different positions, and all of a sudden, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and many, many more start to endorse Joe Biden for president. Of course, none of them endorse Bernie Sanders, but they endorse Joe Biden, who is having memory problems, who can barely string together a proper sentence, and I will share audio, just a few examples of the many to show that Biden is not prepared to go up against Trump. Biden doesn't even have good policies. They're just shadows of Bernie's better policies. It's just more of the same old. By the way, if you watch Pete endorse Joe Biden, you can tell in his face and eyes it's not something he necessarily wants to do, that he was kind of struggling with it. He says it quickly, his voice weakens at the end, he does this thing with his mouth and eyes, then Joe Biden grabs both of his shoulders like, "I knew you could do it, Pete! I knew you could say it!" O'Rourke endorsed Biden to help try and give Texas to Biden, which seemed to work, to try and take away some votes from Bernie and give them to Biden in Texas. By the way, I don't think these people actually care about the people of America at all. They care about their own politics and power. They do not care about the American people. Then there's Kamala Harris, James Comey, and many, many others. Biden camp didn't even want Comey's endorsement. They tried to create this massive movement before Super Tuesday to deny and hurt Bernie Sanders. They did it very quickly, and it looks like it worked. Of course, none of them endorsed the better candidate, Bernie Sanders. It has to be Joe Biden, who got first place one time, who can barely debate, and he's only winning because everybody is propping Biden up. Trump will destroy Biden. Make no mistake about it. And tell Sleepy Joe that he needs to go in the retirement home, that Sleepy Joe is losing his mind, because unfortunately, it's kind of true, and people are going to laugh at Joe, and despite the Democratic establishment, people will vote for Trump. After the BS the Democratic establishment is trying to get away with against Bernie, I would not vote for Biden or any other candidate they put up. The majority want Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has the will of the people, but they're trying their hardest to convince people, no you don't, you want Biden, not Bernie. But in order to do that, they have to build an army against him. If they honestly think that Biden is their best bet, like they did Hillary in 2016, I am seriously worried about them, because they are not in their right mind. I think even Obama, yes, Obama, might have even made some calls to arrange some of these endorsements possibly, though I've seen articles where Obama said he would not endorse anyone. By the way, Bloomberg had ads where it seemed like Obama endorsed him, and like they were really good buddies. Looks like a lot of people were fooled and fell for those ads. I think by not doing anything, Obama is part of the problem by being passive, a bystander. Either way, it feels like he's helping Biden. By the way, Hillary Clinton is probably passively endorsing Biden. She does, but she's not saying anything because she doesn't want to hurt Biden. Then Warren is just there to try and take votes from Bernie and to block Bernie. She's just there even though she has no real clear path to winning. Somehow she thinks taking the delegates at the DNC is her path to winning, which is sad. That's what you need to win. That's the same thing that Bernie will probably need if it's a contested convention. Since he won't get the majority now, he can at least get a plurality, and that's the same thing Clinton needed in 2016 because the DNC and superdelegates are rigged against Bernie Sanders. There are so many parallels to this election and to the 2016 election. Trump and Bernie, outsiders going up against the establishment that the people are tired of or should be tired of, and because the people think the system is rigged against them, you would think they would vote for a candidate who would want to help them out. If there are people who feel the system is rigged against them and they're voting for people like Biden and Bloomberg, they are supporting a continued rigged system against them. Bloomberg is trying to rig the system by spending over $500 million already, and Biden is trying to rig the system in his favor with his social ties to push out Bernie. I don't know how this wouldn't piss people off, and I don't know how Bernie puts up with all this BS he has to put up with. And Bernie says, "My friend Joe is a decent guy. He's just wrong on the issue." Being very nice about it. Bernie, I don't see how he's your friend or a decent guy. After the way Biden is trying to take Bernie out, I see nothing decent about him, and he's clearly not Bernie's friend. He used to be a decent guy. Biden is no longer a decent guy. I liked Biden during the Obama presidency, but I think people do not understand that this is a different Biden who is slowly losing his mind like Daenerys from Game of Thrones, except Biden isn't as cool. So let's see who we have to vote for. We have Biden, someone who will lose to Donald Trump, someone who can't string words together during a debate or any speech now for that matter. That's the Democratic establishment's amazing leader, Joe Biden. Wait, actually, let me share some of those audio recordings to help you see what a great president Joe Biden would be.
150 million people have been killed since 2007. My name is Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over if you'd like to see help out. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330. We choose truth over facts. Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. His mom lived in Long Island for 10 years or so. God rest her soul. And although your mom's still alive as your dad passed. God bless her soul. Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America. In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking. By the way, this is my little sister, Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh, no, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me. And for folks in the working class that are below 400, they will, in fact, increase their premiums. The public option will be available in my plan. We'll make sure it's not quality. We'll make sure it's only affordable. Tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. One of the things I'm proudest of is getting control of the Paris Climate Accord. I'm the guy that came back after meeting with Deng Xiaoping and making the case that I believe China would join if we put pressure on them. You had people like you had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. And to get hot, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Look me over if you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other guy. Give me a look though, okay? That's all I really got to say to you. And I'm Jill's husband. Make sure the kids hear words. You know the thing. Vote for the other guy. Make sure the kids hear words.
I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. Play the radio. Make sure the television. Make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. All men are created by you know the thing. This is my sister Valerie, and I'm Joe's husband. Oh, you switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. Is Joe Biden fucking his sister? What a freaking idiot, right? I'm Joe's husband. Vote for the other Biden. He doesn't even know who he is or who his wife and sister is. I mean, if you glance at your sister or wife, I hope you can tell them apart. And he's still talking about record players. Everything will be okay though. Just make sure the kids hear words. That's the important thing. Just make sure the kids hear words. And Biden didn't even visit any of the Super Tuesday states. He didn't even visit any of the Super Tuesday states. So they can't hear how bad of a speaker he is and just how bad of a choice he is. Maybe that's the idea. Speak as little as possible so the people just don't know. Americans probably think he's still the old Biden when he's not. Just remember, vote for the other Biden. Not this Biden, but the other Biden. Another of the many gaffes of his. If it's Biden debating Trump, it's just going to be two old people. We can thank the boomers who don't know what they're talking about. They're just saying stuff just to say stuff. It's just going to be a very sad debate where the Democratic establishment loses. And I hope they lose. They obviously want a repeat of 2016. I think I actually dislike Biden and them as much as I did Clinton, or worse, because they are trying to force the establishment down our throats. But the majority of people are anti-establishment. They don't want the establishment. The thing is, it's not even like Biden is a good candidate. He's just not. He should be the easiest candidate to beat. He's like one of the worst candidates in history. You have Bloomberg, who has more money than our mind can fathom, showing up at the last minute to participate in the election. Participate in what, 2 debates? He didn't put in the work like other candidates, but it's totally okay to throw all that money around. So I guess if people want to be Bloomberg's whore, they can vote for him. Hey, he has the personality of a dying cat. He's very interesting. Billionaires don't understand what the working people have to go through, so I really can't understand being in the working class and think, Bloomberg is so great. He's going to help us so much. I've seen him on TV in the ads so many times. I feel like he's my friend. I'm voting for him. Just the thought makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Can't believe he'd even get votes. It's disgusting. I honestly don't know which one is worse right now. Biden or Bloomberg? Actually, it's Biden. By the way, Bloomberg or the DNC probably planted the audience for the South Carolina debate. The reason the audience seems so out of the ordinary is because they were bought. It costs almost $2,000 for a ticket to watch some people argue for a few hours. Almost $2,000. Would you have $2,000 to spend to watch some people argue on stage for a few hours? I think not. If most of us did this, we'd be behind on bills. Those boos were not representative of the working class. They were manufactured, or representative of the interests of the rich. Would love to be able to have the ability to spend almost $2,000 to watch people argue and then boo at the wrong candidate like a moron. And apparently some people will like you and vote for you just because you're rich. Must be nice. But wouldn't you feel embarrassed and ashamed that you're doing kinda semi-okay just because of how much money you have? Yeah? No? Okay. Who else do we have? Pete and Amy sold out to Biden for comfy positions if he wins, which Biden won't, so sorry to them in advance for them wasting their time. And by the way, there are also reports, there was a tweet by Sean King, that Biden is trying to get Warren to endorse him. Warren is just there. She's doing meh, but she doesn't have the excitement of the voter base. Not enough people are voting for her. I guess people either don't want a woman president yet, or just don't want her, or both. So after Super Tuesday, if numbers don't show she can win and excite a voter base to beat Trump, I honestly don't know why she's still in. If it's true she plans to steal superdelegates or be another option instead of Bernie, she's just delusional, because we know the Democratic establishment is rigging it in favor of Biden. And it's just not democratic that she's banking on superdelegates, meaning she doesn't care about the will of the people. Gabbard, I don't know why Gabbard is still in this race. Props to being stubborn and not giving up, but WTF. Then we have, of course, Bernie Sanders, someone who has been consistent for over 30 years, someone who has been working his ass off for the working class, someone who is just too nice. Unfortunately, if you look at his speeches and look what he's done throughout history, or even just listen to what he's doing now, he's such a great human being. Bernie is awesome. He's authentic and genuine. He wants to eliminate all student debt and make colleges tuition free. That way you can study almost anything you want to better your life without going into major debt. Think it's fair that young people are pressured to go to college and suffer whatever price tag they can deal with? If it was actually affordable, fine, but it's not affordable. So even if you want the full college experience, even if there are other better colleges you can go to or out-of-state colleges, if you have the smarts and work ethic to go to grad school, you have to suffer with the insane debt. If you want a better life, if you were born in the wrong family that couldn't pay for your college, too bad. Fuck you. get 2 or 3 jobs, sacrifice years of your life and dreams to pay for it. Bernie cares about climate change with the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, living wages that can bump up wages higher for workers, someone who is actually not doing this for himself but is doing it for the people. He cares about affordable housing, free childcare, expand Social Security, eliminating medical debt, fair banking, taxing extreme wealth, racial justice. Bernie was fighting for and getting arrested for black people in the 1960s, 70s? The same voter base who is not voting for him. Instead, they're voting for Biden, who had to lie about getting arrested trying to visit Nelson Mandela. Bernie wants high-speed internet for all, free and fair elections, which this is not a free and fair election going on right now, income inequality tax plan, women's rights, equality for all, stronger gun safety, Wall Street reform, stopping the endless wars, create over 20 million new jobs as part of the Green New Deal, corporate accountability, and so much more. Holy shit, would Bernie Sanders do a lot for America and its people? He's the freaking candidate we need. Bernie actually has details and plans, whereas the other candidates do not. But it seems like the people voting for Biden and Bloomberg don't seem to care, and for anyone who says his plans are unrealistic, it's unrealistic because you don't believe in Bernie. That's why it's unrealistic. His critics always ask the same question over and over. How are you going to pay for it? 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 Squawk! How are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? And Bernie's already told them how a zillion times. With taxes on Wall Street and the rich, just a few examples, but when it comes to making the rich richer or funding other programs, you never hear them ask, hey, how are you going to pay for it? Biden is never asked, how are you going to pay for it? Hey Biden, how are you going to pay for it? Bernie is the only one who could beat Trump. He's the only one interesting to listen to. Everyone else is boring, honestly. Bernie's rhetoric and how he constructs his speeches and sentences and words is beyond phenomenal. He's been fighting for the same things for over 30 years, so of course he must know what he's talking about. Who else is good at rhetoric? Donald Trump. You need someone else who is good at it to beat Donald Trump, not Biden's broken old man rhetoric, not Bloomberg's apathetic-like rhetoric. It's really easy to make a list of what Bernie's fighting for. What the hell is Biden fighting for? Shadows of Bernie's policies that just aren't as good? For the same old? Is he just full of himself? And what about Bloomberg? Just hungry for more power? If I had to trust my life in one of these 3 candidates, it would be Bernie. No way in hell would I ever trust any of these other candidates. I mean, this is pretty obvious based on so many elections, but people can be fools. People can be such fools. It's like following certain famous streamers or YouTubers. People can be such fools. When Biden talks about free healthcare and other free stuff, it's okay, but when Bernie does it, it's not okay? What? What the actual fuck? So from all this, we know the Democratic establishment is corrupt and compromised, and the Republican establishment is also corrupt, and many of the media outlets are corrupt to try and deny Bernie a win. Because, of course, who owns the media? The rich and powerful. Who does not own the media? People like you and me. That's why this podcast episode exists. To tell the truth and get the truth out there, even if it's just a few people. I want to give you a small example. MSNBC showed a yellow favorable icon for Bernie at 63% and a green icon for unfavorable at 35%. I wish I would have taken a screenshot of it. It's like, what the fuck? You put green for unfavorable and yellow for favorable for Bernie? Obviously, MSNBC and CNN and many more news outlets are biased against Bernie Sanders. And these are the reasons Donald Trump is president right now. With everything going on, I am not at all surprised that Donald Trump is currently our president. Bernie Sanders is everything that the Democratic Party should be, but are not. It's like when you want a great relationship, but you keep going back to toxic relationships. That's these people not thinking things through and voting for Biden and Bloomberg. They want a toxic relationship? Go ahead, but they can always leave and actually enter a healthier relationship. And of course, news outlets and other candidates have to accuse Bernie Sanders of being a socialist when he's not. He's a democratic socialist. Big difference. The news outlets don't want to talk about Republican socialism or corporate socialism or rich socialism. But when it comes down to being a democratic socialist to help people, then we have to talk about it. When someone is using a single word to try and put that person in a category, that's usually a bad argument. They're usually parroting what someone else has said. And if someone calls Bernie a communist, they're really dumb. If it's legal, just punch them in the face. If someone accuses Bernie of socialism in a bad way, ask them this. Why are you so against helping other people. Why are you so against helping other people? Because I can guarantee you, if they don't support Bernie, then they probably don't have a lot of empathy or care about other people. They just don't. They care about themselves. These people are so worried about the scraps their neighbors are getting, it's also keeping them poor and stupid. That's the strategy the rich have used. Keep the poor worried about the scraps other poor people are getting, even if it's minorities, and make them think that if other people get a bit more money, then that's somehow going to make their life worse. And the rich and big corporations have piles of money and are just laughing at the working class for being so stupid. And Bernie has had great and genuine endorsements. I encourage you to watch the Dick Van Dyke endorsement if you haven't seen it yet. It's really good. Bernie has worked so much harder and is so much more passionate than Biden. To even see Biden have a chance against Bernie, it's sad. But the DNC is solely helping Biden. So if it's something that helps Bernie, then apparently that's not okay. If it helps Bernie, apparently that's bad. Yeah, that's bad. If you look throughout history, there's more bias against Bernie because he's working for the people. These other candidates would stab you in the back to get their way. But some of the people, including the DNC, would stab Bernie in the back, even though he's been fighting for them a long time. It's sad. What I would do is I would make a campaign ad showing all of Biden's gaffes. What I would do is make an ad, a campaign ad, showing all of Biden's gaffes. Game, set, match. Let the American people know what an idiot Biden is. Apparently it's okay and patriotic for Pete and Amy to drop out of the race for Joe, but for Gabbard and for Warren to drop out and endorse Bernie? No, of course not. That wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't be good. Of course not, no. What were we thinking? That's ridiculous, right? You're not going to see the corrupt media run by the rich and powerful talk about the real corruption in the Democratic Party. The closest thing we'll get, maybe, is a 60 Minutes episode on the corruption of the DNC. Bloomberg dropped out? Good. I hope the people who voted for him feel really dumb, thinking a billionaire like him gave a single shit about them. He wasted like over $750 million. Imagine all the money that could have helped people. Tom Steyer wasted $250 million. Tom was in it for good reasons and to solely talk about democracy. I don't think he thought he was going to win, but he wasted money. Bloomberg dropping out may mean more voters going to Biden. Warren is probably staying in to hurt Bernie because she cut a deal with Biden. But if that's not the case, then she's just delusional. I mean, for those gaffes you listen to, Biden is getting dementia. Unfortunately, it's true. All you have to do is listen to him speak. That's it. He is not in his right mind. Even still, the news hasn't been talking about that stuff. They haven't been talking about how Biden is losing his mind, all his speech mistakes. The news had so much positive coverage of Biden piling it on, but of course when it comes to talking about Sanders, then we can't have positive news coverage. I want to read this tweet by Kevin Cate. Between South Carolina polls closing Saturday and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Super Tuesday, Joe Biden earned $71,992,629 worth of almost entirely positive national media. Add local media in those markets, and it easily tops $100 million worth of earned media in 72 hours. Now, I wouldn't use the word earned, but yes, compare Biden and any other candidate in Bernie for news media coverage. It is biased for Biden and biased against Bernie Sanders. So a lot of boomers, older blacks, and rural whites went for Biden, it seemed, based on Super Tuesday. So what Bernie needs to do is he needs to tell voters this organized effort to take him down is because he represents the will of the people. He needs to say that Biden did backroom deals and they represent the corporate donors. Biden is the extremist, not Bernie. Bernie needs to take some strategies from Trump's playbook. He has to. Bernie has to tell the truth and call out Biden and tell the people that Biden is representing the corporate donors and big money. Biden voted for wars that killed 200,000 innocent civilians. Biden voted for trade deals that would outsource jobs in Michigan. Biden would cut Social Security. Bernie needs to tell the American people how Biden would get destroyed by Trump. Bernie is the one with packed stadiums, and Biden can barely fill a gymnasium. Bernie needs to make ads about these things, and he needs to debate Biden about these things. So, some takeaways. People can be foolish, partly because the Democratic establishment is corrupt, and of course the Republican establishment is too. I'm saying they're both corrupt, so whatever side you're on, you have to admit they're both very corrupt. The younger people aren't going out to vote in high numbers as expected. They apparently don't give a shit about what happens to them or what happens to this country. Like, what the hell are they doing instead of voting? Are they busy with school stuff? Work stuff? Even then, that's not a good excuse. I know we young people are burdened by a lot of those intense responsibilities, but if they're not being involved or if they're playing a video game or something just stupid, I just cannot imagine them not going out to vote. You think they would at least care about their student loans, but I guess not. So if you're a young person listening and can still vote, make sure you get yourself out and your friends out to vote. Don't stay home. Get you and your friends and family out there and make sure they are voting, please. And if you can, please show your parents and grandparents that video of all those Biden gaffes. Please show it to them. Don't even say, hey, want to see a funny video of Biden? Say, hey, want to see a funny video of this old man? Oh, that's Biden. Wow, he's in bad shape. Okay, so to continue on the takeaways, Biden is a backstabber of democracy. Bloomberg wants to buy democracy. Obama is being passive or slightly biased as well and thinks all this is okay. Biden used to be a good guy, but now he's a bad guy. No idea why the hell Warren is in the race when it's apparent after Super Tuesday that she can't win. She basically is last in every state. And after freaking Bloomberg, she lost to freaking Bloomberg. If you're a supporter of her and she's lost to Bloomberg, what chance does she have against Trump? This whole election and how gullible people can be has me furious. It makes me wonder. No, I'm not going to try and parse their rationale over their choices. Bernie is the good guy getting screwed. He is a good person and worked his ass off for the people. He's fighting against the Democrats, the Republicans, the big corporations, the rich. Bernie is doing pretty well for everything that's against him. Bernie has so much against him. And he is banking on the people waking up, seeing what's wrong with today's world, and going out and vote. He is banking on the people, and especially young people. You know, we'll see if that comes through for him. I mean, you got to give Bernie that. He's also never given up on America, but looks like America's kind of giving up on him, unfortunately. What Bernie needs to do in future debates, he needs to be a bit more like Trump and has to stop being so nice. He has to call out Biden and the Democratic establishment during the debate. He has to call out Biden on his lapses of memory, how Biden can barely speak properly. Bernie has to. Bernie has to call him out in front of the American people, and Bernie better not be calling Biden a good friend of his or I'm going to be pretty upset with him. Bernie always takes the high road, but you know what? He can get hurt because of it. You can't always take the high road. If I were in Bernie's position, I would be calling Biden out on every single thing. I would totally destroy him. I would have given up years ago, unlike Bernie would, but if I were debating Biden, I'd be calling him out on every single thing. I would call him out on his lapse of memory and give some speech examples. He needs to attack Biden like he would attack Trump, because Biden is also corruption. Biden is corrupt. Bernie needs to be strategic about what he does next. Might unfortunately need an endorsement from Warren or even a smart VP choice. Bernie needs to stop being Mr. Nice Guy to the Democrats. Stop being so nice, Bernie. And there are reports on Twitter that people were being turned away in line in California, in a few places, in Texas in a few places, some voter suppression, the states that Bernie is supposed to be strong in, and there were just ridiculously long lines. Unfortunately, Bernie has to win as much as possible because the superdelegates are also rigged against him, so Bernie has to work even harder because the system is rigged against him. That should sound familiar. Seems like the American people don't care when the system is rigged against other people. Only when the system is rigged against themselves do they care. Thank you for joining me. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, share. I appreciate your support. If you're listening to this on the podcast platform, you're free to check out my YouTube channel and other podcasts if you're into gaming and just being chill. That would be Scrimma Games on YouTube and the Gamers Reality Podcast.
Go, you know the thing.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Whatever platform you're using to listen to the podcast, feel free to subscribe and write a review. It really is a big help for everyone involved. You can check out any show notes on our website, gamers-reality.com. Feel free to sign up for the free newsletter there, and you'll receive free stuff from me and be the first to know when I upload a podcast. You can also check out the podcast YouTube channel, Scrimma Games, Gamers Reality, where I stream games, make game reviews, have game thesis episodes, video game motivation episodes, and much more. At Scrimma Scrima games just for Twitch and Mixer, and also for my Facebook page and Xbox Gaming Tag. You can follow me on Twitter at Kevin Scrima. And last, if you're enjoying all the content I'm putting out there for the YouTube channel, blog, podcast, and whatnot, please consider becoming a supporter by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Kevin Scrima. Donating just $1 a month will help cover the costs of keeping things up and running. Doing all of this certainly costs money, such as for hosting platforms, but I have a lot of fun and enjoy giving content to you guys. Simply put, your donations will allow me to make even more content for you guys. Thank you so much for being here with me and listening, and I'll see you next time.
Make sure the kids hear words.